Well, that wasn't quite ideal, was it, Warriors fans? But that's all right, because why do we fall? So we can learn to pick ourselves up again. This is Warriors Anonymous.
Look at Alfred.
This is Warriors Anonymous.
That's right, welcome to Warriors Anonymous. The Nobodies are back to dissect what was... Well, it was a game against the St. George-Illawarra Dragons. Our New Zealand Warriors went down. I don't even know what the score was in the end, but it wasn't pretty. So let's get amongst the eulogy of what was round 7, I suppose. Jared Cronin joined by the Sauce Boys, Moneta Sauce and Isaac Sauce. Daniel Whatakura has been he's been stood down this week because of a slur that he used against the Dragons in last week's episode. So. He got put on report, and he's out here, at least for this episode anyway. So, boys, we joked recently about the dark days when we started this podcast, and the team wasn't going so well, and we sort of had a laugh at some of our old episodes and enjoyed the misery that we were kind of going through back then. We were kind of, I don't know, it was a little bit of PTSD might have been seeping in Friday night. Isaac, what did you see, man?
It was like jumping back in the DeLorean, kicking it up to 1.21 gigawatts and going back to 2022 and deciding to watch a game from then. It was fucking woeful, hey? It was just like first 15 minutes, it's like, oh yeah, this is type A Warriors play. And then, to Dragons' credit, we threw the same shots, but we kept missing. You know, I thought they defended our attack really well, and then we were kind of bereft of any ideas.
Yeah, that's a bit of a worry because to be fair, balance it out. Dragons played well. Want to give them credit for what they've done, and they're a tricky team, I think, this year. Old Flano, he's got them. He's got them just really buying in and digging in as well, because in the opening set. Or the opening sets, man, we were just going to score on them at every play. But Moneta, we spoke last week about our lucky draw against the Manly Sea Eagles. I asked the question, was that our worst performance of the year? And I'm going to ask the same question this week.
Yes. I think, without a shadow of doubt, I think it brought back memories of the reasons why that Warriors Anonymous came to that, to console each other with the bad performances. And that was also, it was reminiscing of that. We just looked tired. We looked flat. We weren't able to pull off the slick backline plays that would usually happen. Very basic errors again. Errors costing us at the wrong time. Yes. And just, you could tell when the team's really frustrated when they're yelling at each other, and they were doing that. In a team that, that's when you know things are going downhill. And when I saw that, when RTS accidentally, I think, it was just a reflex, when he got that ball, and then the whole team blew up at him. And then you don't see that with a team that's going well, usually. So, yeah, it wasn't pretty, and I felt like we were almost building up to that ultimate bad performance from last week. I felt like it.
Yeah, that's right. We progressed in the wrong direction. Regressed? Anyways.
Regress.
Let's do a quick hard or nah before we even go further into looking at this match and looking ahead as well, because it's a pretty quick turnaround. Hard or nah, boys. We'll start with you, Isaac. Are the Warriors a top 4 team?
Fuck. I'd say on the back of the last 2 weeks now.
Fair. Moneta, hard or nah, bro? One way or the other?
I'll actually say this, because there's a number of things that affect that. I think the impact of the injuries now have actually kind of shown itself, especially on the bench. The usual impetus that we usually get from the benches wasn't there. And I think we just looked a bit tired and flat. And I'm still positive that we could be a top 4 team. So I'll go with the other end.
Yeah, cool. I'll back you on that as well. Because when I first drafted up the question, in my head I thought, nah, we're not. But then that nah I ended up nahing the nah. I was like, nah. Yeah. So like, I've kind of gone back to yeah now. I started on the nah, now I've gone back to heart. I think yeah.
Nah.
I'll just
Yeah.
I was going to go more. Na 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 na.
Maybe give it up.
They will make up for.
That's right.
Musical interlude.
Now, Moneta, bro, there was a bit of chat around heading into this game in terms of the makeup of the bench, and you know, when things go well, something like that's going to be okay. But when we come out and don't play well, you know, at all, and get handed, yeah. Well, what did you make of the makeup of the bench against the Dragons?
If I'm being brutally honest, and you know, in Webster we trust, in my opinion, and remember I'm a nobody, but in my opinion, I think the bench could have been amped up with a bit more forwards. I wasn't quite sure why Pompey was there along with Roach. I think the rotation was just Ale and Laban, and I don't think Laban got that many minutes, so that might have impacted on the forwards, because I think the forwards played way better than the backs, to be honest with you, but we just looked tired. Like, we almost looked flat. Like, everything just looked slow-mo. I was saying it to Isaac while we were watching the game. God, we just looked slow motion. So, and again, back to my point, we're missing that injection of energy that usually Jazz Tavona or Dylan Walker usually provides.
Yeah, I mean, there was obviously a late withdrawal from the bench with Chanel, Harris Tavita, and I think that probably, it might not have helped things in terms of the bench makeup. I understand, having Paul Roach on there because he's, backup dummy half makes sense. But yeah, the Pompey one was an intriguing one, which kind of, it kind of gets to the point where we've sort of been going along all right in terms of injuries to start the year, but then kind of every week we've just been losing one here, losing one there, losing one there. Isaac, do you think these injuries are really starting to, bite us?
Yep. The depth is definitely being tested. I think a couple of weeks ago I commented that I wasn't too worried about our depth chart. After that game, now I am. I've got some serious concerns around, how especially our bench makeup. I thought that bench wasn't the right sort of bench to bring against St. George. I think I commented on our last podcast the concerns I had around the experience and the talent that their forward pack had, with the likes of Devellin on the bench, a potential Origin player in the years gone by, and that sort of came to fruition. They just were churning out the yards at times without any trouble and getting Ben Hunt into really good positions to put pressure on us. I think probably a perfect example of that was that Zach Lomax try where he just snatched it right out from Montoya. And that just really took the window out of ourselves. That was early on in the second half too, if memory serves me correctly.
Yep.
And that set was just too easy. It was just too easy. But yeah, the injuries are also a major, major part of that. We've been a bit unlucky, but how we respond to that is probably where we look to next. What does the bench look like? Are we, going to have to give these younger guys some bigger minutes to rest our starting team, so they're not so gassed?
Whoa, what was that? I just heard an interesting noise go. Whoa. Anyways.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Did you hear that now?
It was Manita. It must have been.
Must have been me.
I wonder if that'll come up in the audio. Possibly not, but yeah, I heard a whoop, and I was like, the hell was that?
Yeah, I was like, okay, sorry, we can scratch that. Anyways. It was a funny game, actually. One of those weird ones. You see this in sport quite often, right? A team comes out, they start, 100 miles an hour, and you think, they're going to win it by 50. And then all of a sudden,
something just goes astray and kind of gave away momentum, and there's no way back from it, and everything just turns on its head. Do you think maybe Moneta, perhaps we kind of fell into the trap of thinking, bro, this is going to be sweet today, like we're all good?
I think we almost were a bit complacent. I think there was a level of that. And again, errors last week, got Manly into the game and didn't cost us the game. It was a draw, but this time the errors actually cost us the game. And I think we've been making way too many of those errors now. We're to the point where something's not quite right. We've seen it kind of 7 weeks or 6 weeks in a row in terms of basic areas. One where one toy ran back and it just popped out. Just a lot of errors which weren't required, and we were just pushing the pass. Even Egan at one point, our defence did not look good. I mean, Webster touched on it. That one where Sloan was running down, and I thought DWZ had him, and it was almost just a swat of a tackle, and I couldn't believe it. And I think Webster pointed and then that one where Egan got bumped off by was it Egan and TMM by Hunt, but Hunt bloody good try, but it was like reminiscent of the dark days, to be honest, and it was frustrating to watch, and it almost brought back bad memories to a Montoya, if I have to say too. He frustrated me a lot, if I'm being honest.
Well, I felt like a lot of those mistakes were the game was not a good game for those effort plays. You know what I mean? Like where normally the Warriors have set a pretty high benchmark in terms of the 1%ers. Like that DWZ tackle on Sloan was, let's call it what it is. It was pretty pathetic, but that takes effort to actually, he did all the hard work. He got himself in the position to make the tackle, but he just couldn't put that extra 1% in to complete the play. And, same thing as RTS picking up the ball with that short kickoff. It's just those little effort plays that all sort of compound. And last year, those effort plays were a dime a dozen. Every week we had players stepping up and putting in the 1%ers. And then this week was the first time I think we'd seen in a long time where those 1%ers were gone. I mean, I saw Rocco Berry miss a tackle on Moses Suoli. I mean, you never see that. And I know he's a tough player to tackle, but to see that happen, that was honestly one of the points where I went, something's wrong here when Berry's missing a tackle like that. Because normally that's just money for jam for him.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter. I mean, Sully's, he does that to a lot of players, but you're right. Rocco's just Rocco solid. And then on the second try, kind of the same thing, off the back of a penalty, and they swing it over to Ravalawa, and then he just, bumped off bloody Monty like he wasn't even there as well. So it was like,
I remember that. Oh gosh.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
And I was kind of getting visions as well of, I remember Ravalawa just completely dominated Monty a couple of years ago as well.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Oh. Anyways, now we've touched on it a little bit, but it's probably worth having a look into as well, I think, because going into this match, I actually, just by chance, was chatting to my wife, Lolo, about it. She's like, oh, what do you think about, going into the game? And I was like, I'm a little bit sus on our work under the high ball. And we saw another, at least another example of that on the weekend. So, like, Moneta, what's your sort of take on how things are shaping up at that end?
I don't know what's happened, but I almost feel like that we're not really contesting the ball. Like that one where Montoya just stood back and, Zach Lomax just came out and just caught the ball. And I know that was great play from Zach Lomax. It was fantastic, but he was just stationary, and it wasn't like he wasn't jumping for it. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
And that's what really frustrated me. It was just like we let them in with those like effort plays. We should be also making the effort to kind of contest the ball. But yeah, maybe the rule itself is, kind of mixing up players' feelings about how they contest the ball. But that particular one kind of irked me the most when first try of the second half, and we needed to score first to really get back into the game, and that kind of almost blew the wind out of me, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's the silly thing about contesting the high ball as well. When you're on defense and you're taking the offending team's bomb, kind of everything's almost in your favour. You know, but you've still got to make an effort. But really, like, the attacking player can either really make a concerted effort to go catch that ball, or he might get pinged for a what's the word for it? Not obstructing the play. Distraction play. So everything was in Montoya's favour. He just had to jump up and make an effort to try and catch that ball, but he just sort of stood his ground, and had Lomax just swoop over the top of him. But I don't know if what they're doing in training. Maybe the high ball isn't such a priority at training at the moment, but it really should be nowadays.
And it's funny because it doesn't even seem that long ago that Montoya was getting, referred to as the bomb diffusal unit, and just looking really solid. But
I do remember, Jared, you were pointing out some of his decisions on plays a couple of weeks ago, and I could tell that you were getting a bit frustrated with his. I think there was one time he tried to run around a certain individual, and he was going, and he ran out.
And
again, he had a couple of errors creeping up into his game. But I think this game itself really showed that maybe, and this is harsh, I know, but maybe we could try to mix it up just a bit within the back line. Maybe putting RTS on the wing and even putting Pompey back in the centres. I don't know. But something just hasn't been working well for the last 3 weeks.
Well, look, I mean, across most of the season, the attack's been kind of just almost waiting to click. We've kind of seen little glimpses of it here and there. I know that defences as well, they've definitely adjusted, and you can see there's some real, definite tactics the other teams are using. They're rushing up on our edge, to try and, make Sean make a decision quicker than he would necessarily like. But Isaac, how do you, how do you think that we can go about sort of just trying to improve things and sort of get back to at least to where we were with the attack?
That's a tough one, because you can see them trying to shape for it, but yeah, you're right, it's clunky. Clunky was probably the biggest word that came to my mind watching the backline go through the motions and trying to pull out those plays that were, just silky smooth last year. It was almost unstoppable, the way their backline operated last year, especially when they were moving it to the right. But I think it's not a time for panic stations. I think they just need to stick to the course when it comes to their attacking shape. It just needs to be executed better. So I think I get the call for changes with Pompey to come in and RTS to go to the wing. Maybe that is a good option because Pompey's got experience with those plays. But at the same time, RTS isn't going to be able to be the long-term solution at centre if he's not there moving forward, and he's not getting the runs under his belt in that position. Whether it's he has a good day out or a bad day out, I think he still needs to stay there.
Yep.
And at some point in time, he's classy enough and experienced enough and makes enough effort for that sort of stuff to work. But yeah, I think it's just a matter of time. Maybe this Titans game is the game where they feel more comfortable to play at home and it all starts to click. But I honestly think this game's a bit of a bogey game as well. We really have to perform in this game the way they did. The Titans showed up in their last game against Manly, wasn't it? It was close.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit worried, to be honest.
And it takes on extra significance. It is obviously the Anzac Day game, which is hugely significant in itself. In terms of the broader season, we've got games following that against the Roosters away and against the Panthers Magic Round away. So all of a sudden, this game, you're right, it starts to take on a whole different feel about things. Do you think maybe, just sort of what we know about Webby, do you think, Moneta, that I'll ask you this question because you're really good at this. Do you think it's a good opportunity for our team to look at themselves in the mirror?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that bad, if I'm being brutally honest. Like, I think if we had, because we're still winning games before, right? But it was almost like I said, we were building up to that. But I think now there'll be further reflection on how those mistakes that were being cropping up within previous games have kind of now eventuated in a very pretty bad loss. So hopefully, like Isaac said, they've got just rid of it. They know now that they don't want to go back to that standard, and that's not how they play. So there's an element of looking in the mirror, but it's they're going to hopefully just kind of focus on the more mental and just really get back to just making sure that just get rid of those basic errors, man. Shit. It's just at those crucial times. Again, it just happens at those times when they don't need to happen. And it creates that momentum shift, or they can't get back the momentum. But to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if we just make some slight changes to the back tomorrow. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I wouldn't be slightly surprised.
So you reckon Pompey will come in at centre, yeah?
I think
Roger back
there
to
could
the
be
wing?
a possibility, but I think it's 50-50. But I do agree with Isaac. Let's just not call panic stations yet, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's important as well, because I guess more from our history of where the team has been, before the Webby era. So it's there's going to be times where we have to just trust the process, bro. Like
that's the first game that we've played that badly in, think about it, 2 seasons. So it's not that bad.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not
because all of a sudden, people can start to sort of turn on each other and start to single people out and all this. But the way I was looking at it, I saw a couple of times. Obviously, there was Sean made the error for the intercept, and they were in the other end of the field.
Yeah,
I saw another couple of instances where the Dragons were just jamming up on our right edge. And I think maybe it might have been Isaac mentioned in our group chat that Sean was maybe a bit hesitant to throw the rainbow pass, because I think if he threw a couple of those, we had an extra guy on the outside because of how the defence was coming up. But it has been reported the status about Sean's Achilles being a bit niggly, shall we say. Not to the point of stopping him completely. Obviously, he had a little bit of spring in his boots last week when he got the try against Manly. But Isaac, do you think that how important is it for us to manage Sean and his Achilles?
I think it's really important, because I honestly think that whole Achilles thing, now that it's come to light, explains a lot about him, the way he's playing, and his frustrations, particularly how he blew up at RTS. I don't think it was just the game. I think it was also something in the background, because knowing how Sean is, I don't know him personally, but knowing how he is in seasons gone by. Yes, Laos, Cambodia, same blood. His injuries in the past have always played on his mind and affected his performance and affected his confidence. So to have this known now, I think it's probably playing on his mind a bit, and I think he probably needs to get it right. But he doesn't have that luxury, because we don't have the depth at the moment to find an able-bodied replacement for him. Yeah. And he's too integral to the attack as well, especially on the back of the game that we've just had. He needs to play, but I'm pretty sure this is taxing. This is playing on his mind. He doesn't want to get injured again.
Yeah,
and that's probably affecting his performance and possibly his judgment or his ability to do the things that he wants to do on the field.
Yeah, and we will be, like, after this game against the Titans, that I'm pretty sure that will be the first third of our season done. So we've still got a couple of buys to come. I think the first buy is still a few weeks away. So it may be a bit of it seemed like a long sort of trudge to get there. I'm really interested to see. It's been reported that Dylan Walker will be available for the Titans game. Hoping for that. Also, really, really interested to see the status of Chanel Harris-Tavita, because I think just having him on the bench changes a lot of even a lot of the thinking around how we work the bench, which is going to be pretty interesting and pretty important. In terms of tweaks for the Titans game, what are we thinking, Moneta? We'll start with you, bro. What kind of you mentioned personnel tweaks before. You got any sort of any other ideas to throw up?
I mean, really, I've said it before, and I keep on saying it again. We just got to stop those errors, eh? I mean, it's as basic and simple as that, I think. And I don't know, maybe it's a concentration thing or something like that. But if they can just stop those silly errors at important times of the game, and all those errors that did occur, let them back into the game. So if I can get rid of those, that'd be great. In terms of the back line, again, I think I agree with Isaac. Initially, I was thinking it might call for some tweaking in the back line, maybe getting Pompey back in the centres, and as he's used to the structure from and it proved it last year, and RTS on the wing. But let's just stick with it and see how we go, and hopefully they can redeem themselves this weekend. And I think they know that they played pretty badly, and they'll want to bounce back and show, especially on home ground, Anzac Day, that they want to put up a good performance and nothing less.
Yeah, another sellout as well. That would be I think if I was to make any tweaks, this is kind of a generic G thing, to be honest. Any team, if you're winning, if you're losing, if you draw, whatever, I would always say to a team, get a couple of double rounds going. I don't care how well your team's going, you get a couple of double rounds going, and all of a sudden, you can be harder to stop. But that's my little tweak I'm going to throw in there. A couple of double rounds, Wade, add in back to Wade or something like that. Just, something to just put them off balance. Isaac, what are you thinking, bro? Have you got any sort of Sostradamus, Professor S sort of prophecies in terms of tweaks to make to the game plan or the team?
This is going to sound like a bit of a Sostradamus from maybe the 2022-2021 seasons. Yeah, I know. I think it's going to be an ambush. I think, Gold Coast didn't win last week, but I think they're going to see this as a prime opportunity to ambush the Warriors. Mania's right. Error rate is a massive concern. Gold Coast Titans will tell you that. They've got the highest error rate in the competition. That's why they haven't bloody won a game. But, those signs of them turning it around against a pretty good Manly team, right? And I think the key to that might be right up the guts, up the middle. I think you'll be seeing Fafita getting a lot of ball and testing the edges. I think we'll see him getting a ton of ball on the edges, because the edges are maybe RTS's edge more so than Rocco's edge is susceptible, and he plays on Rocco's edge, but I think he's still going to attack. So I would not be surprised if Fafita gets a lot of ball, and I'm going to say it right here, Titans score first.
Yeah, okay.
And that might just be enough to snap the Warriors out of it, but they'll still come out with the win. But I reckon it's going to be really tough.
Yeah, right. And they've definitely got strike. They've got strike power across the whole field. And that's always a potential sort of worry. So I think, I at least like your thinking on that in terms of just trying to get everyone to focus and really tune in to what they're doing, because otherwise they could come and turn us up. But as much as I hate to admit that, because I can't fucking stand the Titans, but
exactly,
they didn't beat Canberra the week before. It was Golden Point, and they need to beat Manly.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, who we struggled against.
They're not playing badly.
Yeah,
I feel like they've got nothing to lose. I think they're not gonna play Warrior ball, but they're gonna be a hell of a lot more expansive. I worry they're gonna be a lot more expansive than the Warriors will anticipate.
Yep.
And they'll look to spread the ball, and they'll catch the Warriors out before the Warriors can get a chance to sort of get their thoughts together.
Right.
I don't think they're going to play it up the middle at the start. I reckon they're going to spread it and really test the Warriors.
Okay, interesting. Very interesting. Of course, we're... actually, before we even jump out of here, I was supposed to say at the top of this episode, it was actually, funnily enough, a great weekend for the New Zealand Warriors club. because across the grades, the Jersey Flag team, the under-21s, they had their first win of the season. That was good. The New South Wales Cup team, I don't know if you guys saw any footage of that, but oh man, what a game that was! It came back with a bloody buzzer beater to win that one by 2 points. The old mate over here was on the call for that.
I was going to say, excellent commentary.
Thanks, mate. Thank you. A couple of the other guys sort of came and checked on me after the game, like, "Is he all right? Is he passed out?" And I was like, "Oh my god!" But also the major one, the major result from the weekend was the Harold Matthews Cup team under 17s. Man, they are the giant killers. They've come through from 6th place in the rankings, like the wild card team basically, and they've come from the back fence and knocked over, first of all, the Para Eels, unbeaten team, and then last Saturday they just took over the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, the minor premiers, also unbeaten. So, and then this week they're going to play in the grand final against the old Magpies, Western Suburbs, and that's another unbeaten team. So I mean, kind of makes sense, that they could beat all the unbeatens and pull off some sort of miracle.
Good boys.
Dare to dream.
Absolutely. So yeah, I'll track down some details as well. I haven't seen any times and days, locations stuff for that game, but it'll definitely be one to watch, because I know a lot of people have been watching it on a YouTube channel.
Oh yeah,
it's been good.
Killing.
Thanks everyone for tuning in, and thanks everyone for tuning in for this episode as well. This is Warriors Anonymous on behalf of Isaac Sauce, Moneta Sauce, and hang on.
One more thing to mention that as well. Another big win for the Warriors Anonymous podcast as well. Hitting a milestone right there, Jack.
That's right. Yeah, we got the 1K. We got the 1,000 subscribers. So on YouTube, that is. Yeah. So
you had to make that clear, on YouTube, not on OnlyFans.
YouTube. Right? No, OnlyFans is still in its fledgling sort of state. I don't think we've got any on that one so far. But really cool to get to that number, and just thanks everyone for tuning in and liking and subscribing. If you haven't done it already, do it, because we've got heaps of stuff coming your way, including starting tomorrow night with Teams Day, as we look at the team lineup with a bit of a Warriors Anonymous twist heading into the game on Thursday. It's coming around fast. Holy moly. But yeah, Jared Cronin here on behalf of Moneta Sauce, Isaac Sauce, and Daniel Wharekura, who's on report. This has been Warriors Anonymous. Thanks for tuning in, and up the wires. Go the Warriors!